So, Israel continues to commit war crimes. Malaysia is hosting the ASEAN Summit. A new pope has been selected. Anwar visits Putin, and Russia and Ukraine prepares for a ceasefire. Welcome to the latest episode of The La Project with me, your host, Han Royani, and my co-host,
BJ, what's up?
So last week, we couldn't do a recording, basically. So one of us was quite sick. So what happened?
I was out, I was bedridden for 3 days.
What happened?
Well, at first we thought it was a lung infection. And then after it went on for a couple of days, went to the doctor and found out that it was actually influenza A.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, highly contagious and all that. It's not super dangerous, you know. But it's just that it's very contagious, and people that have underlying conditions,
they're more susceptible,
and the symptoms are usually a lot worse for those kind of people. So we just basically quarantine lah. The incubation period was 3 to 5 days. So the first 3 days memang tak keluar bilik lah. We just stayed at home.
What did you do before you got the influenza? Were you doing any activities?
Yeah. I was. Me and my brother, we played a paddle tournament last Saturday. Yeah, last Saturday. 2 Saturdays before lah. So but I don't know, man. It was an open air place, so it's not really a place that's conducive for spreading germs or viruses. But there were a lot of people. I think there were 190 to 100 people.
Wow. Okay.
Got participants only, not including the supporters and all that came. So it was quite a huge event, quite a huge tournament. So I don't know, maybe there was someone there that was already around having symptoms or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I was just recovering.
So moral of the story is don't play paddle lah.
No, play paddle though. Paddle's great though. I've been itching because I haven't been able to play for since the tournament, I think. I played last. No, yeah, I don't think I've played since the tournament, which is kind of a bummer. It's my outlet now.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I bought a new racket though after the tournament. Yeah.
Alright.
So I don't know. I'm kind of excited to get back into it. You know, looking forward. I'm not even now as we're recording now, still not 100%. You know, the lungs still feel a bit weak. But
should I be worried?
Not enough to replace me, I don't think.
No, I mean worried, you know.
No. Incubation period is over. So
Okay.
You guys should be all clear. Yeah. I thought about wearing a mask, but then mask is not cool. It's so 2020.
We won't be able to see that beautiful face.
Yeah, I know, right? Especially me. You know, since I started playing paddle, this is for all you men, ladies, whoever you are, trans, if you are, whatever you may be. If you're trying to lose weight, play paddle, dude.
Yeah?
Play paddle. Dude, when I started playing paddle, I was around, I think 72, 73 kgs. I'm now 65.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've lost 8 kg in the last 6 months.
That's awesome.
Which is awesome, dude.
Yeah.
I'm the same weight I am I'm the same weight I am now as when I was playing sports in Australia. When I was studying in Australia. So, yeah, I'm quite happy about that. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the news. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Russia-Ukraine peace deal.
Yep.
So, some of the headlines involving this news is that there were peace negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Apparently, Istanbul has been confirmed as the host city for the summit. And the Ukrainian President Zelensky has actually agreed to attend. However, Putin hasn't confirmed.
Yeah.
So I wonder if he's still watching this to see if it becomes real or it's just diplomatic theater. So President Donald Trump says he is ready to mediate the whole situation, basically. So the NATO and the EU are optimistic, but there are some worries heading into this.
What I think the roadblock actually is to this peace deal?
What is?
Is Zelensky. Yeah.
Okay.
Zelensky the person. Not so much the office of the president of the Ukraine, but more
Just
specifically,
Zelensky himself.
He himself.
What makes you say that?
He's gone on record, I think, basically over the last year and a half until now, with saying that it's very hard for him to acquiesce to Russian terms because so many of his own people have died. You know, and so many of his own people, and the people that have survived them, their family members, their friends of the people who have died that have survived them. Zelensky feels like it's a betrayal if he goes on and pursues peace with the Russians.
So,
you know, this is not my words. This is Zelensky's words from multiple interviews that he's done over the past year and a half.
I get that, but at the same time, as a leader of a country, would you want the people to have peace, or would you want?
It's the same Hamas argument.
Yeah.
It's the same Hamas argument, if you ask me. And yeah, like I mean, when Yahya Sinwar and Ismail Haniyeh were alive, they were the two biggest roadblocks to peace deals. Between Israel and Hamas. You know, so I have a feeling, at least based on the evidence that Zelensky himself has put out into the world, it feels like Zelensky is the biggest roadblock. And from Putin's point of view, like you said, he hasn't agreed to attend the summit, right? In Istanbul. And I think people might see that as arrogant, but I think he's playing his cards close to the chest, in the sense that if this guy, Zelensky, is not going to be there in the long run, why do I negotiate with him?
So
if he's thinking, and if the United States, maybe not necessarily Donald Trump personally, but the negotiators from the United States, the mediators, right? If they themselves and also Putin feel like, okay, in this whole peace, trying to get peace equation, Zelensky is the one that stands out, right? So if he's removed, if they are of the logic that if Zelensky is removed from the equation, peace would be much easier to come by. You know, like the Russians would be more willing to negotiate, especially if it's someone who replaces Zelensky is more, how do you say, tolerant towards Moscow and the Russian administration and Putin's administration. It would make more of it would reinforce the fact that Putin doesn't feel the need to negotiate directly with Zelensky, because number one is already, at least amongst third party independent observers of the conflict, Ukraine-Russia conflict, a lot of them are in consensus that even if Zelensky signs a peace deal and Ukraine can hold elections again, Zelensky is not going to win.
Is that okay? Why do you think that is? Is it because his popularity rate is going down?
That's part of it. Approval rating, popularity rate. The people that have survived are now most of them under the age of 40 years old, especially the men who are alive in Ukraine, and they have seen the I guess the horrors of war, and they don't want it to continue, and they know that if Zelensky is still there, even if a peace deal is signed, or as of right now, we're not even talking about peace deal. It's still just a ceasefire deal, right? Even if a ceasefire deal is signed, how long is that going to last? You know what I mean? So I don't know. If you ask me, the path to peace there in Ukraine and between Ukraine and Russia is a lot more convoluted now than it was before Trump was in presidency. And I feel like the more direct, or the higher probability situation for, especially if it's important to Trump to get the two conflicts settled, right? I think would be the Hamas-Israel thing. Because I don't know if you heard of this. Last week, the US negotiated directly with Hamas without
Israel,
any Israeli involvement to release the final American terrorist that was being held by Hamas, right? And a lot of pro-Israeli observers and even Netanyahu himself was quite unhappy about the fact that Hamas and the US were able to successfully negotiate a deal. You know?
Okay, so does that mean that earlier we mentioned that Hamas or Yahya Sinwar and all these were some of the biggest blocks to get like a ceasefire deal?
Correct.
But the fact that they were able to negotiate with Hamas without Israel, does that show that maybe Israel is the problem? Because I think for Israel, for Netanyahu at least, he would want to continue the war as long as possible. Because I think once the war finishes and Israel gets a general election and whatnot, I think he won't be able to stay as prime minister anymore. Because he Netanyahu. Yeah,
I disagree with that. I agree with most of what you just said, but I disagree with the fact that I don't think with the fact that he might not be able to stay on as prime minister.
Oh, you disagree with that?
Yeah, I think he will.
You think he will stay?
If I'm not mistaken, his approval ratings now are the highest it's ever been.
Really?
Yeah, Netanyahu, yeah.
I thought it was like one of the lowest.
At the start of the
war.
Like probably like in the 3 months, 4 months right after October 7, it was at its lowest. But I don't know, man. All reports seem now that he's actually strengthened his hold on power.
But he's like, I mean, the World Organization has declared Netanyahu
it doesn't matter to Israelis. To the Israelis, he's protecting them.
Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
But recently, I think yesterday, UK, France, and I forgot one other country, they have issued statements to basically say stop the siege on Gaza to Israel. So, because basically in Gaza, they haven't had food brought in over 2 months. Yeah, so I don't know. I think like around the world, like the support for Palestine is growing.
But what can be done to remove him outside of Israel? Though?
What can be done?
Yeah, that's the issue. What can be done? ICJ can come down with the International Criminal Court of Justice can come down with a warrant on him.
They have.
And he's still not being caught. So what I mean, and the warrant is for war crimes. It's not like he's, I don't know, robbing his people, whatever is war crimes.
But still, ultimately, I think people would want peace, but because Netanyahu...
No, but that's the thing. I think a lot of independent observers don't understand about that conflict. Israel is in peace.
What do you mean?
The people of Israel.
The people of Israel
they are not under conflict. The people that are being sieged are the Gazans.
Yeah.
Are the Palestinians.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The people that live in Tel Aviv, the people that live in, maybe not Jerusalem, maybe Jerusalem is a bit more conflict driven than other parts of Israel. But at the very least, the major population centers of Israel are not being threatened in any way.
I mean, I think they get like few missiles that go over that maybe the Iron Dome has missed once in a while. But very rarely will some of the missiles hit like Israeli infrastructure.
Exactly, yeah.
So, I mean,
security is there.
Yeah,
that's my
but there's still some worry, you know what I mean?
Possibly, but
not to the extent of the Gazan.
Yes, of course. But also, it's something that they've been living with since 1948. Even if the people from 1948 that were alive in 1948 are no longer alive today, it still doesn't change the fact that the whole Israeli population has been living in this tenuous peace kind of climate since Israel is a nation,
I mean, it helps that America has been providing Israel with a lot of weapons, these security systems. So I think one of the biggest not reason, but catalyst to achieve a peace deal or a ceasefire deal between Israel and Palestine is, I think, the President of the United States. Ultimately, I think the President of the United States has the power actually to stop, let's say, providing the weapons or to Israel and allowing food to enter Gaza. And I think ultimately Trump does have that power. But I think there are a lot of forces behind the scenes that do not allow Trump to do those things. Because I mean, America and Israel are very, you know what I mean? They're very intertwined, you know. So, and I understand that there are some limitations on what Trump can do to broker the peace deal, but I think ultimately it's up to him.
I don't know if it's ultimately up to him. I don't know if it goes that far, but I think at the end of the day, it is with the Palestinians. Well, not Palestine. It's between Hamas and the Israeli government. That's all it comes down to. Because like Trump is already doing his part in order to de-escalate the region. You know, like there was a peace deal that he signed last week. A trade deal, with Saudi and the Emirate countries.
Oh yeah, Trump.
That he went on a tour, right? Yeah. Qatar gave him a plane and all that lah. But that's all fluff. But the substance of the deal this is what people. I think this is something that people don't like to admit about Trump, even when the evidence is there. He talked a lot, especially before he was elected, about dealing with the military-industrial complex, right?
Yeah.
You know, like draining that, making sure that the military-industrial complex is not actively the ones propagating war.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So we thought that like the layman, people like us, even me, who I feel like I'm exposed to a lot of military workings, especially in the States, because I consume a lot of content, books, videos, whatever it may be, regarding international conflicts. Is an interest of mine.
Yeah.
So, but what even I didn't see was how he went about essentially defanging the military industrial complex. And the whole thing with the whole Middle East trade deals that he's been doing over the last 10 days is proof of that. One of it is that he's going to sell, I think the trade deal with Saudi, for example, is like $250 million worth of jets and military arms that the US military contractors are going to be able to sell to Saudi, right?
Yeah.
So that is part of it, part of the peace process, in the sense that, okay, look, we are making sure that the military industrial complex, they still have revenue coming in. Yeah, might not be exorbitant revenue like what it is during wartime. Yeah, but revenue still coming in, profit is still coming in, still being generated, because that is just one deal with one country, right? Yeah, but now he's making it so that he's incentivizing the military industrial complex to get involved in peace deals instead of wars.
Right. Okay, but I wonder,
he's making it so that, okay, they can still profit off of peace. You don't just have to profit off of war. You know, if with peace, you can sell your arms to all the countries in the world if everyone is getting along, rather than you just being able to sell to 1 or 2 countries, or 3 or 5, or whatever the case may be, you know? So you incentivize peace instead of over the last 20-25 years, like under the Bushes, under Obama, where it was the more bombs you drop, the more we charge you for more bombs, and shit like that, you know? So it's a different story. You know, they've already agreed not to attack the Houthis anymore, because the Houthis themselves, which are supposedly terrorist organization, have agreed not to touch US ships, you know, in the shipping lanes in the Red Sea, you know. So negotiating, even like if you look at the tariffs, even China, for example, has already acquiesced to Donald Trump. You know, they already agreed to which I told you, I think three episodes ago, that someone has to blink first. And the person that blinks last is the one that's going to hold the leverage in that negotiation, right? And that's what Trump did. People suffered for a while, but he didn't let it get to a point where shelves in supermarkets were empty.
No, but it was emptying.
It was emptying, no doubt. But it didn't get to COVID points.
No, but
it didn't get to the point where people were hoarding toilet paper.
No, but
you know, if it got to that point, then it would have been a lot more disastrous for him, for Trump.
That's true.
You know, but it didn't get to that point, and he managed.
Luckily for him,
I don't know if lucky is the term, but if you ask me, is probably is a calculated decision. Like, this is as a nation, this is our breaking point. We just cannot get there. And I think he maneuvered in a way that made sure they didn't get to that breaking point. Which he hasn't done a lot. Sorry, I'm not going to say that he hasn't done a lot of good. He hasn't like, followed Congress or gone to Congress in order to get certain things that he could get done quick in a more quick fashion with executive orders and all that. Fine. Some might argue that's constitutional, some might argue it's not. Whatever. Point is, now that you've given him time to cook and given his policies time to cook, they're bringing the fruits of that labor.
So you're saying Trump's cooking right now?
Trump's cooking. Trump's cooking. Yeah.
But did you see when Trump visited Saudi, did you see the whole welcome parade for him?
Do you know that Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, he does not greet any other world leader. In fact, no one else. He greets no one else at the plane except for his own father.
But he did so for Trump?
But he did so for Trump. He walked all the way to the stairs.
Yeah, and then all the ladies were there. Did you see?
Yeah.
The first time I saw that video, I was like,
dude, Saudi is embracing a new way of doing business, dude.
But that's a new way for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I've never seen that before.
We've never seen it, but
like Trump and Mohammed bin Salman, like they would walk across like this like red carpet, and then they were like greeted by like these 50 free-haired ladies, and then they were just like, I whip my hair back and forth. It's such a
new way of doing business.
It's such a weird image.
What's that thing they call it now in Riyadh? Riyadh season. That's what it is now.
Yes.
Riyadh season, man.
Yeah. It's like the whole westernization of Saudi.
Saudi is like, seeding their clouds to make rain more possible.
Yeah. They can do all that, but they can't.
Next level though.
They can do all that, but they can't help people in Gaza. So
Yeah. I don't know about can't or won't or
I think they won't, because they obviously have the means to help, and I think like UAE also, they are trying to have diplomatic ties with Israel.
People helping them though?
And the so-called terroristic organizations.
The people helping them, helping the Gazans, the Iranians, like Hezbollah. These are all mortal enemies of the Saudis. So it is a whole different equation when it comes to help coming from the other Arab states. It's hard, man. Like, we need a 3-hour podcast to get into that. No, honestly, we do. Like, because you have to understand, like, Iraq. Iran and Saudi don't get along.
Yeah.
Right. And then have you heard of the Kurds?
The Turkish Kurds.
No.
Oh, okay.
The Kurds, like from Kurdistan.
No.
Okay, so Kurdistan is not even a real country.
Okay.
It's just an area, a region, like right smack in the middle of the Middle East that is in the mountains of Iraq, Iran.
So they're not even a state?
No. But they are people.
They're just a collective.
Saddam Hussein was one of the ones that one of the people that were, for lack of a better word, genociding them.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
So when the Americans came into Iraq in 2003, they enlisted the help of the Kurds to get rid of Saddam.
Okay.
So now Kurdistan is lawless. Okay, it's always been lawless, but now it's even more lawless because there's no one that is oppressing them anymore.
Yeah,
So they are the Kurdish warlords. They are themselves.
They're the kings, basically.
Of that region. Yeah, and they themselves are brutal, if not full on terrorists.
Have they gotten into any like scraps with any?
Not with the Americans, because the Americans have always been funding them and all that. But you can see how maybe in 20-25 years time that relationship might not be so prosperous anymore lah. Yeah.
But earlier you mentioned the fact that Trump is selling a lot of American weapons to these different countries, and I wonder how is it actually going to stabilize the region,
is.
or is it going to make things worse? Because
is.
like all these countries now have like
Exactly.
weapons.
Because of that.
Mhm.
It's the same thing as the whole. Have you heard of MAD?
MED.
MAD.
MED.
MAD.
No.
Mutually assured destruction.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Same thing.
Okay.
Same
Then I know how we can
What, give
this.
everybody nuclear weapons?
Yeah, give Gaza
everyone nuclear
American weapons.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but that's a whole different story, dude. Like nuclear weapons is a whole different story. Like, who's gonna maintain it? You need your scientists and all that, and like whatever is being said about India, about Pakistan, you know, all these countries, they have supremely intelligent
People.
Not just people, but the scientists. They are nuclear scientists are world leaders,
Right.
in their field. So same goes with the Russians, you know, Turkish. So it's not unlike how the media, traditional media, likes to put it out. It's not the case, dude. Like international conflict, especially in that region, in the Middle East, in Eastern Europe, it's not cut and dry.
Right.
It's not straightforward at all.
Yeah, and speaking about like the tension in the Middle East, I think one of the person that sort of contributed to that is the former president Biden.
Okay.
So have you heard about some of the recent news about Biden, that he just procured
stage 4
prostate cancer, and apparently it's very aggressive.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's poetic justice or
Nah, I think
it's wrong for me to say that.
happens to a lot of people. Like, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, he was already diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That was towards the
end of his presidency or after?
Towards the end. I think.
Oh, okay.
8 months before he left office, 6 months before he left office, he was diagnosed.
I'm pretty sure he also has like slight dementia, I think.
Yeah, like, I mean, Parkinson's, dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
When your brain starts to rot, it starts to rot.
Yeah, but you can see it at the end of his presidency, like he would go to
some argue you could even see it at the start of his presidency, dude. So I don't know, like, and then when you get cancer thrown into that mix, it's not fun, dude. It's not fun. I don't wish that on anyone. Not even Biden.
But apparently the White House says that it's treatable, and apparently it's all under control, even though it's stage 4.
It's manageable.
Manageable.
From what I know with people that were close to me that have gotten cancer and have passed, when it comes to stage 4, even stage 3, latter stages of stage 3, is mostly managing the pain, you know, keeping the patient comfortable until the end of life kind of thing. And at that stage, end of life doesn't come very...
It doesn't get easier, you know.
And it's quick.
Yeah.
Most of the time when you get stage 4, it's very, very quick.
Because he's like, what, 97 or 90 something years old?
No, I don't think so. I think he's like I think he's 82, 84.
No.
He's Trump's age, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even a couple years older at most.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's the whole dichotomy of it. I think when Trump was 79, he was 82. So they might be like 3-4 years apart, something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know, it's amazing when you compare to like some of our leaders, like Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. He's like 99 years old.
Yeah.
And speaking about like the prime ministers of Malaysia, recently Anwar Ibrahim just visited Russia.
The Kremlin,
Yeah, to the Kremlin. He met with Putin. Basically, it's about the tragedy of MH17 and how Malaysia and Russia are going to work together to find out what happened. And it's actually a rare visit because Malaysian prime ministers don't generally go to Russia, you know?
Yeah.
So
but Anwar's been cooking himself lately. At least in...
Oh yeah, Anwar's been cooking himself?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Especially when it comes to foreign policy. At least over the last 2-3 months, you know, he's been visiting. We had a couple of weeks ago. We had the China state visit from President Xi. Right? So he's, at least foreign policy wise, he's doing the smart thing, which is that, you know, BRICS is a rising power.
Yep.
And I don't know, seeing as we are a petroleum exporter, I don't know And if any of you are more well versed in this, please jump in the comments. But I don't know if it's the wisest idea for us to be joining BRICS officially. However, being friends with the member nations is not a bad thing.
Yeah. I think this shows that Malaysia is perhaps willing to not depend on Western governments like in the
which
US
is
and
weird
stuff.
because Anwar was always a Western back guy. You know, when he was opposition leader and all that, he had a lot of American friends. You know,
but nowadays I think he's like branching out to Asia and also like Russia. Which I guess
he knows lah. I guess he knows that that's what wise leader would do. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
You know.
So during this visit, you know, they beyond MH17, they talked about trade, you know, like agriculture, aerospace, halal industry, and Islamic finance.
Bilateral ties and all.
Bilateral ties.
Yeah.
But the one moment that stood out from this meeting was basically Anwar asked Putin. Anwar asked him. So basically, there were three thrones.
Yeah.
There were three thrones. Where was that?
Yeah, I think it was in it was either the presidential palace or in the Kremlin itself.
Yeah. So Anwar was asking him. So who are the?
But those thrones are not really used anymore.
No.
Not even for ceremonial purposes. It's just there as like a museum piece, if you will. So it was the former throne of the Tsar of Russia and the Tsarina.
Yeah.
So and then Anwar was like, then who's the third throne for?
Yeah,
like,
because the first throne is for
Putin was like, his second wife.
So because the first one is supposed to be for the Tsar, the second seat is supposed to be for the wife,
the Tsarina.
And then Anwar asked, so who's the third seat for? And he was like, oh, the second wife.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like a lot of people were laughing at that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it took away from the seriousness of what the visit is for. You know what I mean?
I guess so. Maybe.
I think it's just like a clickbait moment for Anwar and Putin.
I feel like it's a humanizing moment. Though.
It is.
Like they can have fun about like that, and you know, Anwar might not know much about second wives. I'm not gonna finish that sentence.
Okay, sure. Okay, let's move on. So one of the more recent international news is, I mean, the last two episodes, I think we covered about the death of the previous Pope.
Yeah.
So, and last week...
the new Pope is American! Let's go! He's from Chicago, right?
Yeah, he's from Chicago.
Yeah.
And apparently he's like a cool guy. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, like, it's not easy.
I'm sure that's what the kid said.
It's not easy for an American... Pontiff, is it? Before they get selected?
No, Pontiff is Pope.
Pontiff, okay. So what do you call, like, if it's from
Archbishop?
Archbishop, okay.
Sorry, not Archbishop, Cardinal.
Okay.
Cardinal is up for being Pope. Yeah.
Yes. So I know must be quite difficult for an American cardinal to be selected as Pope. Because this is the first ever American...
North American, I think, is the first.
Yeah, it's the first one.
Seemed like Pope Francis before him was the first Latin American. You know,
and one of the first speech that he gave, like with the previous Pope, he actually mentioned the escalation in Gaza and stuff like that.
His first speech.
First speech, yes. So you know, it's
calling for a ceasefire, right?
So the new Pope, reportedly, he's very progressive in tone, but traditional on doctrine. So I'm kind of interested to see how it's gonna go.
That's good.
Yeah, so symbolically, you know, this comes at a time of spiritual uncertainty in many parts of the world.
No more gays.
I don't know, because like
no more gays, no more trans.
I mean, the previous Pope was very open about it. You know what I mean? Like he was very accepting.
Not just the previous. I think the previous two popes.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So like the previous
even
two popes,
the guy that retired before Francis.
Yeah.
The only pope that ever retired and not die.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was the guy that the Pope that when all the cases of little boys being abused, he was the one who moved the priests around instead of sack them. He just moved them around to different churches and all that. and that's why he retired, because that became a whole scandal. Like, it made it look like he was enabling.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know what the actual story is there, but that did happen. You know?
Okay, so back to some local news. Actually, the ASEAN Summit is happening in
Ultra next week.
Yeah. So
starting
a lot
this weekend. Yeah.
So in Kuala Lumpur, a lot of the roads are being closed. So do check out I'm sure you might have seen it in your WhatsApp group chats. You know, someone sharing or forwarding the pictures. So if you live or work in the KL area, do check out the timing.
And it's always the
road
people
closures.
that don't work or ever go into KL that's sending you road closures. Like, shut the up. The last time you went to KL was like 5 years ago. Shut the you're going to go next week.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a big moment for Malaysia, you know, to be able to submit the whole ASEAN Summit. So this is going to be the 46th ASEAN Summit, bringing together leaders from all over from Southeast Asia. And actually, this is a bit of a spoiler. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but we were actually invited to go to the ASEAN Summit.
So we might be there. If you're there on Sunday, call us.
We're legit now.
Yeah. Seems like it.
So, I mean, there are going to be major traffic shutdowns in Kuala Lumpur as security will be tightening because there will be a lot of Southeast Asian leaders that will be in Kuala Lumpur. So, do check out the schedule and make sure, you know, you're not going to be involved in you're not going to drive through the traffic because I'm sure the traffic is going to be crazy during this time.
Yep.
So some of the top priorities that Malaysia is going to highlight basically are the climate resilience, the South China Sea tension, and the regional economic integration. But I think mostly they're gonna talk about the climate issues because one of the main organizers of the whole ASEAN Summit is actually Greenpeace, who we've had 3 of their representatives on the show before. So basically Anwar Ibrahim is using the summit to sort of showcase Malaysia's global leadership ambitions. So I think this is a good thing, you know, for Malaysia to be doing because it shows that we are able to host a big event. And I hope that in the future, Malaysia will continue to host more international events like this one, you know, to show that, you know, we are a nation capable of leading other nations to perhaps a better future, you know what I mean? So ASEAN continues to balance ties between China, the US, and now the BRICS aligned partners. So now officially, Malaysia has also joined BRICS. So, I mean, like, so we've had this conversation with like Heng from Greenpeace before about the climate issues. But I wonder how much of the climate issues that Malaysia is actually going to focus on. And I wonder what are some of the repercussions that we might get from this ASEAN Summit. Is it going to be good for us? Is it going to be bad for us?
Well, ASEAN Summit is mostly usually just a place for trade deals to happen. So I don't know how much the environmental part of it is going to get highlighted or even talked about or even resolved. So I don't know. Like, it's not that I don't care about the environment, but the environment is not the hill that I want to die on. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not worth it. The sun's gonna explode eventually, whether we do anything about it or not.
But that's gonna be like millions of years from now.
You think something could happen before then, you know? Point is, I don't know. And point is, whenever that does happen, it's not gonna be because of humans.
But humans have been making the earth,
but nothing to do with the sun.
Yeah, but you know, we as humans, we also have a responsibility to keep the planet clean, or you know, a decent place to live in for our future generations. You know what I mean? So, and I think like we are slowly getting to the point of no return if we keep doing what we're doing in terms of the climate.
See, that's where you and me differ in our thinking, and is that I think that every point is the point of no return when it comes to the climate.
So so you're saying that there's no point in recycling. There's no point in.
I think, as Hank has pointed out himself, recycling is not really the best idea. So
no, but I'm just saying, like, should we not do our best to take care of the earth? You know what I mean? Like, you have 2 daughters.
Okay. But what does take care mean?
You know, making the world a cleaner place, making the world a much more livable.
That's the thing. I don't feel like, to me, that we are already past the point of no return. Because age, like, as it pertains to you being 12 years old, are you not past the point of no return?
I mean, yeah, but
because age is a straight line, right?
Sure.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. That's how I feel about it.
I mean,
I might be wrong, I might be right. I'm not gonna be alive to find out. So
but I'm just saying that if I have kids, I would want them to not have asthma because of the haze. I would want them not to have allergies because of, like, let's say, vaccine shots.
I wouldn't want any of those things either. But there's no concrete evidence. Circumstantial, yes, but there's no concrete evidence that those things contribute to asthma. If not, I've been growing up in Malaysia all my life. I would have had asthma.
You had influenza A though.
It's not the same thing. Right? It's not the same thing. Yeah. So, like I said, I mean, people like to attribute external factors to this and that. But at the end of the day, we got to look within us. We got to look within us.
Yeah, we have to look within us.
Yeah.
For me, I have looked, and I want to help them, make the world a better place.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Like, if you believe that you can make a difference that way, go ahead. I ain't going to stop you.
That's why I have this podcast.
I ain't going to stop you. But I'm also, like, while I'm on this podcast, I'm not going to say that I don't believe in.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's why I have. That's why you're also on the podcast.
So, like, to me, while it's a noble idea, like, you heard, or I'm pretty sure all of you, it came across all of your social media feeds. Elephant that died.
Oh yeah, that is so sad.
That's so sad. Okay,
that's so
sad. So sad, right?
No, did you look at the video?
Do you want me to show you another video of an elephant in Africa without people around, without roads around, without lorries around, and you know how the elephant died?
How?
He's being eaten out by a pack of lions.
Okay.
And that's better. That's better than being run over by a lorry, instantaneous death.
No. Okay, so those are two very different things.
How are they different, my friend?
Okay, one is natural. One is like part of the ecosystem.
So it's okay if the suffering happens as long as it's natural.
Yeah, it's for the nature, the benefit of the nature, I would say. It's for the wildlife. It's part of the...
Are we not part of nature as human beings?
Yeah, but what's the point of us killing elephants,
I don't think it was on purpose though.
It was not on purpose, but it's still a sad moment. You know what I mean? Because it's sad because the mother of the elephant.
If you guys want to see sad, subscribe to Nature is Metal on Instagram, and you tell me if that's sad, dude. Like,
no,
honestly,
that's brutal, bro. That's brutal.
Exactly, but that is natural.
Yeah.
You want to talk about natural life? That's natural.
Yeah, but
so I don't have. I'm sorry, I just don't have the sympathy for, like, happens. They are, to me, it's like slaughtering in Islam.
Okay. Slaughtering
animals in Islam.
Like the halal way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. There's especially when it comes to people who hunt animals. People who hunt animals don't get, most of the time, especially in today's world, now that they've refined hunting techniques and all that, you don't really have the time to actually go and slaughter an animal once you've downed an animal after you've shot with a bow or with a gun.
Okay.
Most of those animals that get hunted die instantaneously or within 30 seconds.
Sure.
Okay? And they're not like they get shot. The ones that die instantaneously, drop down, die.
Yeah.
But the ones that don't survive for within 30 seconds, run all over the place, and then drop dead, die.
Yeah.
Okay? In both cases, slaughtering in Islam, that you can't really do that. You can't really slaughter as the correct Islamic way, because you need the animal to be alive, right?
Okay.
So, when you sembelih, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The animal has to be alive. You drain the blood
Yep.
by the wound, things like that. Okay, that doesn't happen in the natural world, even when it comes to hunting. Okay.
Okay.
However, a slaughterhouse. How does a slaughterhouse kill a cow?
A slaughterhouse.
Yeah, like not say for argument's sake.
There are multiple ways. I think they're like
The most efficient way that they do it now.
Gas.
I know this because me and my friend, we were once we were once pet food distributors for a while.
Okay.
Okay. So one of the ways that they kill cows, they hook the cow up to like a belt, a contraption. The neck is squeezed. See, this is the head of the cow, right? So the neck is squeezed, the body is all held in place.
Yeah.
So the cow cannot move. They take a piston. And
Yep. Like on the head.
yeah, and the cow dies instantly, right? But in Islam, that is not humane,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
That is not humane.
That's not the way to.
No, that is not humane in Islam.
Yeah.
The only way to humanely kill an animal is if you are going to eat the animal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And in Islam, that it doesn't just matter that the intent of you going to eat the animal, but it also matters how you kill the animal.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
And
The
also,
method.
and also how the animal has lived its life.
Yeah.
Basically.
So you look at it that way. Oh, that seems inhumane.
Okay.
That seems more humane than draining the blood of an animal until it dies.
Sure.
You're making sure it's instantaneous death.
Yeah.
There's no shock to the cow. There's no anything.
Okay.
The blood stays within the bloodstream and all that. But in Islam, that is still not humane.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So same goes to my point. Humane might not be what we as humans have as our standard of humanity.
Sure, I get it.
Like, okay, fine. Both ways, killing a human that way is not humane because it's a human, right? That's the argument I'm trying to make about the elephant. The elephant was never going to die in a humane way anyways in the wild.
Okay.
It was never going to die in a humane way.
So it's better for it
I'm not saying it's better or worse. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying it was never going to die in a humane way in the first place. Could die to illness, can die to a Malayan tiger chewing his ass out.
Yeah.
Until it dies. Alive.
Yeah.
Until it dies.
Yeah, I've seen Nature is Metal.
Yeah. So that's my whole point. Why get sad over something like that?
No, the sad part.
There's no, to me,
okay.
To me, there's no sadness there because that's how God intended life to be.
No, I think for most people when they saw what happened with the elephant,
and I saw the mother coming back.
No. I think the calf dying is not the sad part. The sad part is the mother coming back like every day.
You want to know why? There's actually nothing to do with the child.
Enlighten us.
Yeah, elephants have one. I think in the animal kingdom, elephants have the best memory in the world.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So what an elephant does, and people, that is the misconception by people thinking that elephants have ridiculous memory. No. They don't. They just constantly, every day, all they do is retrace their steps. So they keep going to the same place they've been all over. So that's all it is.
Yeah, but it could have.
Animals don't have that kind of emotion of sadness. No, they don't.
They do very much so.
You might want to think that way.
No, it's true. They do have that.
There's no evidence that says that is, and if they did, they would be on the level of humans. So,
bro, I think some of the most compassionate beings on the planet are like animals. Because I'll just use a dog as an example.
Okay.
A dog, if you love a dog, the dog will love you regardless of your race, regardless of your religion, regardless of your disability, regardless if you're rich or poor.
Yeah, but that's not natural though. That was done.
That has been like
that was done by the domestication of dogs, of wolves from humans. So that in itself is not natural. A natural dog, an actual real natural dog.
Okay.
Once they see you, bites your head off or your dick off. Like you can say nah, but the truth is the truth. Dogs today are not what dogs actually are.
No. Okay, the dogs today are much more
because they've been domesticated by humans and they've been artificially altered by humans.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay. Okay, that point aside.
Okay, you can pick a different example.
Okay, a different example. Monkeys.
Okay.
Monkeys, they're animals too, but they take care of the baby for at least like 6 months before it's fully grown, and then they allow like the what do you call like a baby monkey?
The baby monkey?
Yeah, okay. They allow the baby monkey to just, roam around and be free. But for the first 6 months, the mother takes care of the child. And the same goes to elephants, the same goes to lions, same goes to most other animals.
Okay.
They look after their child. And for you to say that, animals don't have like a
yeah, but they don't do it out of love though. I'm not saying they don't do that. I'm not saying my argument is they don't do it out of love.
Then why do they do it if it's
they don't have theory of mind? This has been established by like years of since the 1930s of psychologists. They don't have theory of mind. They don't have feelings. They do it because that is how they are hardwired to be. You might be disappointed in this. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
I'm not disappointed. I disagree with your point.
You might disagree all you want, but the fact of the matter is they're animals.
Yeah.
Like a bear. A bear doesn't...
A bear also has cubs. A bear also takes care of his cubs.
I don't disagree with you. What I'm trying to say is simply that they don't do it out of love.
Then why? Why
because they're just hardwired that way. They do it for the same reason that we procreate, the lineage.
Okay.
To keep on continuing their bloodline. Right. But there's no love into it. The only beings capable of actual love, like how we understand it, is us, humans. This is what makes us special.
Okay, I love you, but I disagree with you.
I don't think it's a fact to either agree or disagree on. It's just a fact.
No.
You can feel how you want, but facts don't care about your feelings, my friend.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I disagree with the fact that you think animals don't have
evidence. Because I can pull up at least 20 to 25 different experiments done by psychologists on the theory of mind.
Okay.
That have wholeheartedly disproved or completely disproved in most of them that non-human mammals have theory of mind, because they don't. Even Washoe, the chimpanzee that was raised in a lab, taught sign language and all that. At the end of the day, it died.
I mean, yeah.
Because they don't have love. Because love, you can cultivate love.
Yeah.
What they do is responsibility. Is a different thing.
No, I completely disagree with that fact because, at one point, I know this is probably a bit controversial, but I had a dog at one point.
Okay.
So, for you to say that animals don't have love...
No, I agree with you about the dogs. I'm just saying the dogs were artificially domesticated by human beings, which was true.
Okay, it is true.
Which is true.
But that doesn't
But I don't know, and there's no evidence that says what the dog shows you is actually love.
Okay, we can talk about this in future episodes because I disagree with what you say.
Bring me evidence, my friend.
Okay, we'll talk about this in the future. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have today. And of course, if you have any ideas or anything you think we should talk about, please let us know in the comments. And anything you want to say before we finish this episode?
Facts don't care about your feelings.
Choose love.
Choose love, yeah. Because we are humans, we can love. Yeah.
All right. So that's it from us for today's episode. We'll see you next time. Right, bye.
Peace.
Let's go.